Model Chili with you again on this rather wet and windy spring day. In this video I'm going to be looking at my Tamiya Challenger 2 135 scale kit. Now this is one I completed not that long ago, probably about a month ago, and there's plenty of photos up of it on my blog. But as this is a new channel, I'm sort of going back through my builds this year, just taking a look at what I've completed and the final result. And yeah, so let's go ahead and take a look at the final result. And here it is, looking a bit battered and bruised. Now obviously this is the Desertised version from the 2003 Iraq War, specifically the No. 1 2nd Troop B Squadron Royal Scots Dragoon Guards, 7th Armoured Brigade, 2003. And this was one of three schemes. The reason I chose this particular one is basically it's the one that had a really nice big Union Jack on the gun mantlets there, which I thought was quite a nice touch. Yeah, what I did with this kit, especially because of the huge side skirts making the wheels pretty much invisible, was I attempted to build and paint all the sub-assemblies before putting it all together. Something I don't usually do with tanks, but I thought it would make it a bit easier just to get underneath into all the wheels and at the side hull. Yeah, it has its pros and cons. Like obviously it makes it easier to paint at the end, but it also makes it a bit harder and messier to glue painted pieces together and sort of sand the paint back to get the glue to stick. So I've used quite a bit of super glue sticking this together. Thankfully not too much, but yeah, in the future I'll probably stick to painting it all once it's assembled. I probably could have got away with it with this model, but yeah, I mean, it was an experiment, and yeah, so I learned quite a bit of lessons from that. And yeah, so as you can see, it's got quite a bit of weathering to it. I tried not to go overboard, but yeah, ended up putting quite a lot of chipping all over the hull and especially the gun there, using a lot of research from photos of these tanks in Iraq. Some of them did look quite a bit beat up. I used Viejo pigments and Tamiya weathering set, which was, just find it, this one here. So I've got the sand, light sand and the mud, which I smeared across all different parts here, especially on top of the turret where the troops will be climbing in and out. A lot of sort of boot prints all muddied up there, and a bit of sand and mud on the front mud guards there. And for the chipping I basically just got some dark grey paint and a sponge. I just sort of lightly applied it to sort of raised areas where the paint's going to be worn off a bit more. Now I've since learned that these were all desert scheme was painted over the main green camouflage of the Challenger. So these probably should be, all the chipping should probably be a bit more green than grey. So yeah, that's one thing I would correct in the future if I was to build another one of these. But from a distance, those sort of colours sort of blend in together, so it doesn't look too out of place, the grey. And some nice fire extinguisher detail on the front there. I really couldn't find any reliable pictures as to what colour these were supposed to be, so I just painted them metallic red, and that seemed to do the trick. And we've got the Desertised symbol there on the front of the, pretty sure it's a rangefinder hatch. Yeah. There was one minor modification I made to the standard kit, was these combat identification plates on the front. Now what Tamiya did was they provided just a sheet of plasticard, just a thin sheet, and you were supposed to trace an outline in the instructions and then just cut them out and stick them on. But I found them a bit too flat, so luckily I had a really old trumpeter Challenger 2 kit, just sort of in my cupboard somewhere. It was a really old kit that I started to build and just found not very good. Just a load of soft mould lines, a lot of flash, a lot of warped parts. So I abandoned that kit, but thankfully these combat identification plates were slightly better in the trumpeter kit. They've got the metal sort of framing around the edges, and they were a much better alternative to Tamiya's option. So I was quite pleased with that. And I've got the identification plates on the side there, and some along the back. A lot of weathering on the back there, so in the back deck, engine deck, and on the back hull. A lot of mud and soot on the back mudguards there. Another little Union Jack in the corner. And oh yeah, another modification was these holes in the top of the turret. In the Tamiya kits they just go straight through to the bottom. So I used the plasticard that Tamiya provided for the combat identification plate and stuck it underneath there. Again, I couldn't find any sort of research material that suggested what these actually are or how far down they go. So I sort of filled them at about 5 mils deep and then painted them just a slightly off colour from the hull, which I thought was a better option than just seeing all the way straight down to the bottom of the turret. And along the commander's hatch, a lot of weathering there where the crew will be sort of handling the metal a lot and stepping on, wiping their boots on maybe. And yeah, I did the old sort of wet mud on a brush technique, so got some pigments and paint quite wet on a brush and then just used an airbrush to splatter it along the side of the reactive armour here, just to give the impression that it's gone through a big muddy puddle. Yeah, so quite a lot of techniques that I've used for the first time on this model. A lot of weathering, using the Tamiya weathering set. And this is the first time I really seriously used the pigments, the sand pigments on a model. And yeah, so on the aerials was just the old heating up a sprue, stretching it. And again, every single photo I found of the Challenger on the internet, all these aerials are a different length. Some are really long, some are really short. So I kind of just went for the medium size. So I'm not quite sure if these are accurate or not, but hopefully someone will let me know. And yeah, and this was just a really fun kit to build. Apart from the couple of issues that I mentioned, the rest of it just sort of came together perfectly, and no major issues with the kit itself, no warping or anything. So yeah, I was really happy with it. I know it's a popular subject that people like to build, so you see quite a lot of these around, but it's another kit that I highly recommend if you're interested in armoured or tanks. Yeah, so I'm quite tempted to get the Challenger 1, the Tamiya kit, just to put them side by side. I think it would make a nice display piece. But yeah, we shall see. So thanks for watching. and I'll catch you next time.